Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Carry On, brought to you by Nation's Finest, where our mission is to support America's military veterans and their families with a comprehensive approach to housing, health, and employment that helps them to achieve self sufficiency and reach their full potential. If you or a veteran you know needs help, or if you'd like to make a donation, please visit nationsfinest.org or call 833 468 9676. Again, that's nationsfinest.org or call 833 468 9676. I'm your host, Mark Miller, Army veteran and communications director for Nation's Finest. Do you like to play video games? Do you know others who enjoy gaming? Many veterans use gaming to escape and take a mental break, but also to interact with friends and family that they don't see often due to distance, the pandemic, or for any other reason. Our guest, Trevor Thomson, joins us today to talk about how video games can be a healthy way to interact and keep in touch while also taking an enjoyable break. Trevor served nearly 10 years in the United States Marine Corps as an engineer and platoon sergeant. He has a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Sonoma State University and is now the Assistant Site Director for Nation's Finest Santa Rosa. He's been a member of the Nation's Finest team for almost 4 years and helped to plan the very first Rocket League Level Up Veterans Cup, a tournament created to continue raising funds and awareness for Nation's Finest while in-person events were limited due to the COVID-19 crisis. Trevor Thomson, thank you so much for joining us today on Carry On.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity. It's going to be a great conversation, something I'm passionate about that we've talked about before.
We have talked about this before, and but first time talking about it on the podcast. So thank you for being willing to take this conversation public. So our audience already heard in your introduction about your role here at Nation's Finest, and that you're directly involved in helping homeless, at-risk, and disabled veterans. So I know as you do that, and through your responsibilities working with those veterans, sometimes you look for out-of-the-box solutions to help veterans keep up their social networks, maintain their mental health. And I know one of those out of the box tools you've used is video gaming. So could you tell us a little bit about the research you've done on that and what you found?
Yeah, definitely. So, we live in an increasingly digital age, and with that comes new ways of communicating and keeping in touch with people that you're close to, that could be down the street or across the world. And video games have become one of those outlets where you can, interact with other people and communicate, verbally and via text and other ways. And while there was definitely, research there's varying amounts of research on the efficiency of video games and the effects of video games on mental health. Some of it is negative in nature. We've all heard those that video games contribute to violence and etc. But there's also counter research that suggests that video games are actually have a positive impact on mental health by including people in their social networks, expanding their social networks, and using it as a healthy coping mechanism rather than some of the other detrimental activities that are out there.
That's a great point. So there's a healthy coping mechanism aspect to it, and then there's also the aspect of just kind of having a fun release there and also doing something fun with their friends in a social way. So going down that social path, I know you and myself, most veterans have friends that are scattered all over the world, certainly all over the country, but usually globally. We've got friends all over the place. We don't get together with them and see them that often. Could you share your personal story of how gaming has helped you keep in touch with your network and maintain those friendships?
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking for myself, I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years. And thus, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I moved back to my hometown. And I thought in my mind, I was going to pick up these relationships with my old friends, right, from high school. I joined when I was 18, By the time I got back, I was 28. And I quickly noticed that my friends that I left behind here were either no longer here, or we were just in a different place in our lives. We had different experiences that we didn't share. And all of a sudden I felt my social circle really close up, right? Where it was just me. And one of the things that expanded my social circle once again was video games. I was able to reach back out to buddies that had shared similar experiences, and we were still friends. And this allowed us, no matter where we were in the world, to get together in this virtual lobby and do something together. Whether whatever game we were playing, we could chat and talk, and even if we weren't taking the game seriously, we were doing something together and playing together, doing something together. And it opened up my social circles once again, but also it was infectious to the other people, to say, hey, we just pull more people into this, to where you were never really alone.
So you really grew from maintaining a group of friends in a social network to really even growing a social network out. Would you say you have friends or at least acquaintances you feel like you can talk to that maybe you've never even met in real life?
Oh, it Mark, this started with for me, it started with myself and two other guys playing a game. And then we would pull somebody else in. Oh, what about this guy? You remember him? Oh yeah, let's pull him in. Next thing you know, we had 5, and then we're pulling in friends of our friends. You know what I mean? So it's like we're pulling in these other guys. Ah, yeah, he's a good to go guy. Let's bring him in here, add him to the old friends list, and it grew from where it was, well, I don't know if my buddies are going to be on right now. We got to coordinate this. You know what I mean? So we could all play together, to where there was always somebody was online, so you just jump on when you had time, and somebody was online.
Like you said, it became that virtual lobby or virtual parlor that you guys could all get together in and meet up at your leisure. That's super cool that your network actually grew and wasn't just maintained. I love to hear that.
It reminded me of the barracks, because everybody's there. Everybody's at the barracks, and even if you go down to your buddy's room and he's not there, well, you can go one door over and knock on their door. They're probably home. That's really what it became. It became like this virtual barracks where somebody was home. If you needed to hang out with somebody, if you needed to talk to somebody, if you just wanted to play video games, hang out, somebody was home.
So I'm calling it now. 24 hours after we launch this podcast, someone's going to start a business called Virtual Barracks.
The virtual barracks.
That's going to be the new gaming app for veterans out there. So let's take this now from the personal to the professional. So you're with Nation's Finest, working with veterans every day, and you see veterans and their healthy coping mechanisms and sometimes the unhealthy ones. What have you seen as far as the benefits or maybe some of the drawbacks as well from veterans that you've helped and their use of gaming?
Well, the other thing to take into consideration is there's an increasingly amount of our generation of veterans, OIF, OEF veterans, that grew up on video games, and at least got our feet wet in video games. And so that's an easier bridge to cross than, say, like the other large group of veterans that are out there that we serve, Vietnam veterans, right? Even though they're they could be savvy too, and they jump on too. But video games have definitely become a way of introducing a healthier coping mechanism that somebody who's out there struggling can turn to, rather than drugs or alcohol, or some other self-destructive coping mechanism. They can get real support from real human beings playing a multiplayer game online, or just play a single player game and get immersed into some story. Use that as an escape rather than some other self-destructive mechanism.
I think that's a great point, and what you just keyed in on there, real support from real people. I think it's important to understand that even if we're, you and I are seeing each other face to face right now and we're having a conversation, but if we're having a conversation through avatars on a video game and we're still having a conversation, we're still doing something social, I think it's important, that distinction you just made, that it's real support, real interaction with real people, even if it's in an unreal environment. So I've got to ask you this too. When you talked about the single player and the immersed into another into something fictitious, just as an escape, have you also looked at some of the virtual reality stuff out there that helps people to do just that?
I haven't. Me personally, just because I know I don't want to even go down that rabbit hole. I think I would just spend a whole lot of money, and and that'd be all she wrote. But I do know, some people that have, and they keep telling me I need to get into it. But I think that's the direction that games are going. It's how do we make this as real as possible and as interactive as possible, as the days of Pong on the old Atari are over. Now we're, you can put a headset on and drop into a simulated world. I saw like one article about like where you could smell the environment. I was like, this is getting crazy. So
Well, I have to admit, I'm an Oculus 2 VR user, and I took a 360 view flight over Tokyo during lunch break today, and that was kind of fun. So, I think there's some potential there as well. So, staying on the, professional, talking about how video games can help veterans, I know you were involved in putting together something for Nation's Finest for, that we've put on now twice. You were involved in the birth of that, of having this Level Up Veterans Cup tournament, playing Rocket League, and now you've taken what has helped a lot of veterans and parlayed that into supporting veterans. Could you tell us kind of how that came about and how that's going so far?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that was a great collaborative effort from many people on the Nation's Finest team that was came to be from one of our staff in, I believe, Reno or Carson City. We were looking for fundraising opportunities, and this person came and said, what about an online video game tournament? And ever thinking out of the box as Nation's Finest does, we said, how about a video game tournament? And it really turned into this this thing where I think the best part that came out of it was it got groups of people involved that traditionally wanted to help veterans and didn't know how. They weren't, philanthropic, millionaires or something like that, but I could play Rocket League, and if I could play Rocket League and help out, all the more better. So it was another way of getting more people involved in homeless veterans services and helping out their community, which really, to me, that was the greatest thing about it. Was another avenue for people to get involved, and especially during a pandemic. We didn't. It's a video game. You play it in your own home, away from people. we didn't have to converge, and we did a great thing. So I thought it was a monumental success and effort by a lot of people that had kind of unintended consequences and reverberations, you know what I mean, into other communities.
Grew into that collegiate community with with some of the competitive gaming out there. Grew into new audiences that maybe wouldn't have known what Nation's Finest does for veterans without that gaming tournament. So you played in the first one. Did you? What was your take on that? How did you enjoy the the competition? What did you see going around there?
It was Rocket League is not my game, but it was fun to play, and that's one of the things, right? It wasn't about how good you are. It was about we're getting together and we're doing something together, right? And for the most part, in that first one, a group of strangers are getting together and doing this thing together for a good cause, and that was the magic behind it. I don't think there was any try hard. Nobody was going for the $50 million Rocket League prize.
That's
So
right.
yeah, it was a group of people getting together to do something special together.
Some Amazon gift cards on the line, but
Yeah. So,
nothing
woo,
nothing that had anybody stressed out. So
right. Yeah.
yeah, I would agree. It seems like even though I wasn't able to play in the tournament myself, seems like everyone had a good time. Came back with a lot of positive reinforcement. So we've done two of those tournaments now, and it seems like sometime in the next several months we're probably going to do another one. So I've got a plug to our audience here to keep an eye out on all of our social media channels at Nation's Finest, as well as our website. You'll be able to see when we do execute that the third Level Up Veterans Cup. So the big question now, Trevor, you were there playing for the first one. You weren't in the second one. Are you going to be back on board in the third?
I couldn't play in the second one. I had another commitment, but I might need to come out of retirement and play in the third one, and maybe I'll get some practice. You said how many months until the next one? I might be able to get some practice in, and
Oh, okay. We got a few months. We got some time to practice. All right.
all right, yeah, I'll get practiced in.
If I offer to be your teammate, will you play?
Sure.
All right. So there it is.
There it is.
An old Marine and an old Army guy teaming up to play Rocket League. We'll have to find one more member because it's 3 to a team. So we'll figure that out. I guess we need someone from the Air Force or the Navy. We can make this a truly joint team.
Yes. Yep.
Trevor, thank you so much for joining us today, talking about veterans and video games, talking about healthy coping mechanisms. Really appreciate you being here with us.
Absolutely. Thank you. My pleasure.
Have a great day. And thank you to all of you who joined us again today. We'll be back next week discussing issues relevant to veterans and those who care about them. Again, if you or a veteran you know needs help, or if you'd like to make a donation, please visit nationsfinest.org or call 833-468-9676. Again, that's 833-468-9676. Thank you again for joining us today. And as always, carry on.